The frozen aisle looks convenient, but for seniors, it can be a silent killer. What if the foods you heat in minutes are silently stealing years from your life? And what if, hidden right next to them, are frozen foods that can actually protect your heart, brain, and longevity? Picture this: an elderly man walks into the grocery store leaning on his cart. He thinks he's making smart choices, grabbing frozen meals that promise quick and easy, desserts that claim low fat, meats that say ready to cook. But what he doesn't know is this: some of these frozen foods are engineered not for his health, but for shelf life, profit, and taste addiction. Behind the frosty glass, there are products that look harmless, but they are packed with trans fats that harden arteries, sodium that raises blood pressure, and sugars that silently damage memory. But here's the twist: the same frozen aisle that holds danger also hides treasures. Bags of frozen berries that preserve their antioxidants better than fresh, frozen fish that carry life saving omega 3s, frozen greens that lock in vitamins at the peak of harvest. The difference between sickness and strength could literally be the choice you make in that aisle. The freezer is not neutral, it is either stealing your years or gifting them back. And the question is, which side will you choose? When you walk through the frozen aisle, the golden glow of fries, onion rings, and breaded chicken can feel comforting, even nostalgic. It reminds you of moments around the table, fast food stops with family, or late night cravings that felt harmless. But beneath that crispy surface lies something far more sinister than most people realize. Those frozen fried foods are not simply potatoes or chicken preserved for convenience. They are loaded with oils that harden into dangerous trans fats, the kind of fats that do not just sit quietly in the body, but aggressively work against it. Trans fats are like hidden saboteurs that move into the bloodstream and begin to harden arteries, raising bad cholesterol and lowering the good cholesterol that protects the heart. For a senior whose cardiovascular system has already weathered decades of wear and tear, eating these foods is like pouring concrete into the very pipes that keep life flowing. What makes these foods even more dangerous is their seductive disguise. A frozen box of French fries looks harmless, maybe even affordable and easy, but what it really contains is a recipe for inflammation and slow damage that can go unnoticed until it shows up as a heart attack, stroke, or chronic fatigue. Each bite of those fries, each reheated chicken tender, is a chemical cocktail designed for crunch and taste, not for health. The manufacturers know exactly what oils they use, what additives they slip in, and how the brain reacts to that fried texture. The problem is not only in the frying process, but also in the very oils used, often cheap industrial oils that are hydrogenated to extend shelf life. These oils become structurally distorted at the molecular level, and when they enter the body, they distort the very chemistry of life. The body struggles to metabolize them, and in that struggle, tissues weaken, arteries clog, and cells age faster. For seniors, the danger compounds. With age, the body's natural defenses weaken, the liver does not process toxins as efficiently, the blood vessels lose elasticity, and the heart becomes more sensitive to pressure. Introducing trans fats through frozen fried foods at this stage is like striking a vulnerable system with repeated blows. It doesn't just raise numbers on a blood test, it accelerates decline in ways that rob energy, shorten endurance, and cloud the sharpness of the mind. That little bag of frozen onion rings may seem like comfort food, but it can trigger silent inflammation that spreads throughout the body, affecting joints, memory, and even mood. Science shows that inflammation is at the root of most chronic diseases, from Alzheimer's to diabetes, and frozen fried foods are like gasoline on that fire. And yet the lure is powerful. Convenience whispers, it's quick, it's tasty, it's satisfying. Seniors may feel they've earned the right to indulge after years of discipline, but the reality is cruel. The body does not negotiate with trans fats. It doesn't matter if it's one bite or 10, the chemistry of damage is set in motion. It's important to remember that every choice made at the freezer door is not simply about satisfying hunger in the moment, it's about shaping the state of the body in the days and weeks ahead. Every serving of frozen fried foods is not just calories, it is an assault on the arteries, a push toward fatigue, and a quiet theft of the vitality that makes daily life worth living. But what if, instead of seeing frozen fried foods as harmless indulgences, seniors began to see them as the traps they truly are? What if every time you reach for that bag, you pause and remember that the golden crust hides invisible chains that bind the heart and shorten breath? These foods are engineered for pleasure, but not for longevity, and the cost is never worth the fleeting crunch. The real strength lies in resisting the pull, in knowing that each choice can either weaken or protect. To choose frozen fried foods is to gamble with arteries, energy, and life itself. And for seniors who deserve vitality, clarity, and strength more than ever, that gamble is one that can never pay off. When most people think of frozen spinach or leafy greens, they imagine a soggy block wrapped in plastic, something tossed into the freezer as a last resort rather than a first choice. But science tells us a very different story, one that seniors especially need to hear. Unlike processed meals or fried snacks, spinach and leafy greens are harvested at their peak and frozen quickly, locking in nutrients that might be lost if the same greens sat wilting on a shelf for days. This process preserves the very vitamins and minerals that the aging body craves. Iron, magnesium, folate, vitamin K, and fiber remain intact, ready to work inside the body to restore balance, improve circulation, and keep the system running smoothly. For seniors who often experience slower metabolism and weakened digestion, this preserved density of nutrition is not just a bonus, it is a lifeline. The truth is, as we age, the body undergoes changes that make every nutrient count. Bone density begins to decline, muscle mass weakens, and the ability to regulate blood sugar becomes more fragile. This is where frozen spinach and leafy greens show their silent strength. Vitamin K in these greens is a known protector of bone health, helping the body channel calcium where it belongs, into the bones instead of the arteries. Magnesium supports muscle function and calms the nervous system, which is especially valuable for seniors who struggle with sleep or muscle cramps. Folate plays its part in keeping the mind sharp, reducing the risk of cognitive decline. Every serving of frozen spinach is a collection of tools that fortify the body against the natural challenges of age. What makes this even more powerful is the fiber content locked within those frozen leaves. Fiber is more than just a digestive aid. It stabilizes blood sugar, lowers cholesterol, and nurtures the gut microbiome, which in turn influences immunity and even mood. For seniors, fiber acts like a broom that sweeps away what the body no longer needs, reducing the strain on organs that have already worked for decades. And because fiber also slows down the absorption of sugars, it protects against dangerous spikes in blood sugar that can trigger fatigue and feed the risk of diabetes. It is not an exaggeration to say that a single portion of frozen spinach in a soup or smoothie can shift the body toward better balance almost immediately. Beyond the nutritional profile, there is the practical reality. Fresh greens are delicate. They wilt, they spoil, they lose vibrancy after just a few days. For seniors who may not shop as frequently or who live on limited budgets, this creates a barrier to consistency. But frozen spinach and leafy greens eliminate that obstacle. They are available year-round, affordable, easy to store, and ready whenever needed. There's no rush to cook them before they go bad, no guilt about wasted produce. That means more seniors can make leafy greens a daily staple rather than an occasional luxury. Consistency is what brings real change to health, and frozen greens make consistency possible. Then there is the overlooked role of antioxidants hidden within the deep green pigment. Spinach and kale are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, compounds that protect the eyes from age decline. For seniors facing the common threats of cataracts or macular degeneration, these nutrients act like a shield, filtering harmful light and nourishing the delicate tissues of vision. Every serving is a step toward preserving independence, the ability to read, to recognize faces, to see the world clearly. Few foods offer such direct protection, and yet frozen spinach quietly carries it, waiting for those who are willing to embrace it. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is how adaptable these greens are. They slip into smoothies without overpowering the flavor. They blend into soups and stews. They fold into omelets or pasta sauces, adding density without difficulty. They are not a food that demands adjustment. They are a food that quietly integrates, enriching whatever they touch. For seniors who may need meals to be simple and gentle, this adaptability ensures they never have to sacrifice nutrition for convenience. Frozen spinach and leafy greens are proof that health and ease can coexist, that the freezer can be a partner in longevity instead of a trap. They wait silently, not glamorous, not loudly advertised, but carrying within them the very nourishment that strengthens bones, sharpens memory, protects vision, and steadies the heart. When people think of frozen fish, many assume it is inferior to fresh, that somehow the moment it touches the icy blast of the freezer, it loses its worth. But the truth is, frozen fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are some of the most powerful allies seniors can have. And freezing them actually helps preserve the very nutrients that the body needs most as it ages. Omega-3 fatty acids, the essential oils that support heart health and brain function, remain locked inside the fish even after months in the freezer. For seniors whose arteries have already weathered decades of stress and whose memories are more vulnerable to decline, this preservation is not just convenient, it is life-saving. What makes frozen fatty fish so remarkable is the way it fights inflammation. Inflammation is the silent undercurrent behind so many of the conditions that plague older age: arthritis, diabetes, memory loss, and heart disease. Omega 3s are like firefighters rushing to calm that inflammation, cooling it down before it spreads and damages tissues. Every serving of frozen salmon or sardines delivers these protective oils directly to the bloodstream, where they begin to smooth out the damage of years. Seniors who include fatty fish in their diet consistently have lower risks of heart attacks, strokes, and cognitive decline. It is not hype, it is hard science. Studies across decades confirm this. Another layer of benefit lies in how these fish nourish the brain. The human brain is made largely of fat, and omega-3s are the building blocks it craves. When seniors eat frozen fatty fish, they supply their brains with the very material needed to maintain sharpness, memory, and mood balance. Without enough omega-3s, the brain begins to wither under the weight of oxidative stress and inflammation, leading to forgetfulness, confusion, and even depression. So, we'll dig into that. Scott, a huge thank you for your time today for connecting this two together. With omega-3s, the neurons communicate more smoothly, the blood flow to the brain improves, and the risk of age cognitive decline decreases. This is why scientists often call omega-3s brain food, and why they are so crucial for seniors who want not just to live longer, but to live with clarity. The benefits extend even further to the heart. Omega-3s reduce triglyceride levels, lower blood pressure, and prevent the dangerous clotting that can trigger sudden cardiac events. For seniors who may already be on medications for heart conditions, the addition of frozen fatty fish is like reinforcing the foundation of a house. It strengthens what is already there, reducing the burden on medicine to do all the work. It also improves circulation, ensuring that oxygen and nutrients reach every part of the body more efficiently. This is why doctors often recommend at least 2 servings of fatty fish each week, and why frozen options make this recommendation so accessible. And then there is the impact on muscles and joints. Seniors naturally lose muscle mass with age, a process called sarcopenia, and this loss is one of the leading causes of weakness and frailty. The high quality protein in fatty fish slows that decline, giving the body the raw material to maintain muscle strength, Combined with the anti-inflammatory power of omega-3s, this protein not only preserves muscles but also soothes stiff joints, reducing pain from arthritis and increasing mobility. This means more freedom to walk, to lift, to play with grandchildren, to live without being bound by aches and limitations. Frozen fatty fish are also practical. Fresh fish spoils quickly, often within days, but freezing halts that decay and makes these nutrient rich foods available at any time of year in any place. For seniors who may not have access to a fresh fish market or who worry about cost, frozen salmon or sardines are an affordable and reliable option. The freezing process does not strip away the benefits, it holds them in place until the moment they are needed. In many cases, frozen fish can actually be fresher than so-called fresh fish that has spent days in transit. The richness of fatty fish also supports mood and emotional well-being. Seniors often face loneliness, grief, or anxiety as life circumstances change, and omega-3s have been shown to reduce symptoms of depression by supporting neurotransmitters that regulate mood. This means that the impact of eating frozen salmon goes far beyond the physical. It nourishes the spirit as well, giving a sense of stability and resilience. And when seniors feel emotionally strong, their physical health follows, because the mind and body are never truly separate. When looked at this way, frozen fatty fish are not simply another food item, they are protectors, builders, and healers, all wrapped into one. They stand in stark contrast to the harmful options that line the frozen aisle, reminding us that not everything behind the frosty glass is a danger. Some foods are silent allies, waiting to be chosen, carrying within them the power to support the heart, the brain, the muscles, and the very spirit of those who eat them. Every fillet of salmon, every serving of mackerel or sardines is a chance to fight against decline and to restore strength. And the beauty of it is that this chance is available to anyone willing to make it part of their daily routine, no matter where they live or what season it is. Frozen edamame and peas may look simple, tucked away in an unassuming bag in the freezer, but they carry a secret strength that is often overlooked. For seniors, these little green pods and spears are far more than a side dish. They are a defense system against the natural decline that comes with age. One of the greatest challenges of growing older is the gradual loss of muscle mass, something scientists call sarcopenia. Muscles weaken, stamina fades, and the body no longer feels as strong or reliable as it once did. Edamame and peas are packed with plant-based proteins that slow this process, providing the amino acids the body needs to rebuild and maintain muscle. Unlike heavy meats that can be difficult for seniors to digest, these plant proteins are gentle, easily absorbed, and powerful in preserving strength. Every serving is like giving the body a quiet reinforcement, an ally in the daily fight to keep independence and vitality alive. But their benefits extend beyond muscle protection. Inside these small green vegetables is a rich supply of fiber, and fiber is one of the most underappreciated tools of longevity. For seniors, fiber keeps digestion smooth, prevents constipation, and nourishes the gut microbiome, which in turn strengthens immunity. A healthy gut implants more than the stomach. It impacts blood sugar levels, inflammation, and even mood. By slowing down the absorption of glucose, fiber prevents the spikes and crashes that feed diabetes and drain energy. It keeps the body steady, balanced, and resilient, protecting organs that may already be strained after decades of work. Edamame and peas may look simple, but their fiber works like a silent guardian, sweeping away what the body does not need and nourishing what it does. These frozen greens are also rich in vitamins and minerals that seniors cannot afford to neglect. Peas contain vitamin C for immunity and collagen support, while edamame provides folate, magnesium, and even a plant-based source of calcium. These nutrients come together to support bones, nerves, and overall energy. For seniors who are often told to take supplements to fill nutritional gaps, edamame and peas offer those very gaps in their natural form, tucked within each bite. And like highly processed frozen foods, they are not engineered with chemicals. They are simply preserved at their peak, holding on to the nutrients that nature intended. There is also the benefit of their practicality. Fresh peas and edamame are seasonal, often expensive and quick to spoil. But in the freezer, they are always ready, always waiting without losing their integrity. They can be tossed into stir fries, blended into soups, sprinkled over salads, or simply steamed with a pinch of salt. They adapt to any meal without fuss, bringing protein, fiber, and vitamins without demanding elaborate preparation. So, if your diet for seniors who may tire easily in the kitchen or who need meals to be quick and simple, this adaptability means nutrition no longer requires struggle. Health becomes accessible in the most ordinary of moments, from opening a freezer door to pouring out a handful of greens. And perhaps what makes frozen edamame and peas most remarkable is their ability to protect not just the body, but also the future. By supporting muscle mass, they prevent the falls and frailty that often send seniors into decline. By balancing blood sugar, they lower the risks of diabetes complications. By fueling the gut, they strengthen immunity against infections that can otherwise become dangerous with age. Each serving is not just food, it is an investment in independence, in mobility, in the ability to keep walking, lifting, and living freely. It is easy to overlook these green allies in favor of flashy packaging and tempting frozen treats, but those who know their true value understand that health often hides in the simplest of forms. Frozen edamame and peas are proof that the freezer can be a source of life rather than loss, a place where nourishment waits quietly to be chosen. When you pick up a box of frozen sausages, bacon, or hot dogs, it may seem like nothing more than a quick solution for breakfast or dinner. They are easy, they cook fast, and the packaging often makes them look harmless or even comforting. But the truth is that these frozen processed meats carry dangers that the body, especially the aging body, cannot ignore. They are loaded with sodium, nitrates, and preservatives, elements that are hidden in plain sight but have devastating long-term effects for seniors who already face natural changes in blood pressure, heart function, and metabolism. These additives are like fuel to a fire that is already smoldering inside the body. Sodium, for instance, pushes the pressure inside blood vessels higher and higher, straining the heart, stressing the kidneys, and wearing down delicate tissues. It is silent, it is gradual, but over time it can be catastrophic. Nitrates are another hidden threat in frozen processed meats. They are used to preserve color and extend shelf life, giving bacon its pinkness and sausages their appealing appearance. But when nitrates are broken down in the body, they can form compounds known as nitrosamines, which scientists have linked to higher risks of cancer, particularly in the colon and stomach. For seniors whose cells are already more vulnerable to damage, this added exposure is not just harmful, it can be deadly. It becomes a cruel irony that what looks appetizing and long listing on the outside is on the inside eroding health and stealing away time. The very convenience that processed meats promise comes at a cost far greater than most people realize. Beyond nitrates and sodium, frozen processed meats are often high in unhealthy saturated fats. These fats contribute to plaque buildup inside arteries, narrowing them and making it harder for blood to flow freely. The heart must pump harder, blood pressure climbs, and the risk of heart attack or stroke grows. For seniors who may already be on medications for cholesterol or blood pressure, these meats make it harder for those medications to do their job. Instead of supporting the body, each bite works against it, piling on more weight for an already burdened system to carry. Over time, fatigue sets in, energy dwindles, and the spark of vitality dims. What makes processed meats especially deceptive is the way they are marketed. Labels often use phrases like smoked, cured, or ready to cook, which sound inviting but do little to reveal the hidden dangers. Some even advertise as lean or reduced fat, but these terms rarely account for the staggering amounts of sodium and preservatives lurking inside. Seniors may believe they are making a reasonable choice, unaware that what they are consuming is slowly undermining their health. The problem is not simply in the meat itself, but in the way it has been engineered for long storage and quick flavor without regard for the long-term toll it takes on the human body. And then there's the question of digestion. Processed meats are heavier for the digestive system to break down, especially as the metabolism slows with age. The preservatives and additives can irritate the gut lining, disrupt the microbiome, and contribute to inflammation throughout the body. This kind of internal stress doesn't just remain in the digestive tract, it ripples outward, affecting immunity, joint health, and even mental clarity. Seniors may notice bloating, discomfort, or sluggishness after meals that include these foods, but often don't connect it to the meats themselves. It becomes part of a cycle of fatigue and weakness that seems inevitable with age, but is in reality fueled by diet. Frozen processed meats are not innocent. They are designed for shelf life and taste, not for health. The salt, the nitrates, the fats, and the preservatives all add up to an attack on the body, one bite at a time. Seniors who turn to them for convenience often end up paying for that convenience with their energy, their strength, and their longevity. The freezer door may make them look safe, tidy, and ready to use, but what is locked inside is a toxic mixture that the body struggles to endure. For those who are aging and seeking vitality, these foods are not just poor choices, they are dangerous ones. When you open the freezer and see tubs of ice cream, frozen cheesecakes, or creamy pies, they often seem like harmless pleasures, a sweet reward after a long day. The packaging is cheerful, the colors bright, and the promise of comfort almost irresistible. For seniors, these desserts may carry nostalgia too, memories of sharing Sundays with family or treating grandchildren to a scoop after dinner. Yet behind that moment of indulgence lies a reality that is far more dangerous than most people realize. Frozen creamy desserts are engineered to deliver a powerful rush of sugar and fat at the same time. And this combination does not just satisfy the taste buds, it overwhelms the body. Sugar levels spike, insulin is forced to respond in overdrive, and the excess fat lingers in the bloodstream, clogging and coating the arteries that keep life moving. The problem is not just the sugar itself, but the way it is paired with heavy saturated fats. Sugar on its own can lead to sharp rises in blood glucose, draining energy as quickly as it provides it. But when paired with fat, the body's systems are pushed into a state of constant strain. Insulin resistance begins to creep in, cells stop responding as they should, and over time, the risk of type 2 diabetes grows. For seniors who may already struggle with slower metabolism, this combination creates a perfect storm. Blood sugar levels swing wildly, fatigue deepens, and the immune system is quietly weakened. The body works harder to process what feels like a simple dessert, and in that struggle, energy that could be used for healing, repair, or vitality is instead wasted on damage control. There is also the hidden impact on the brain. High sugar intake is linked with memory decline, mood instability, and even an increased risk of dementia. When frozen, creamy desserts are consumed, the brain experiences a temporary high, a rush of dopamine that makes the eater feel rewarded. But once that rush fades, the crash follows. Irritability, foggy thinking, and fatigue. Repeated over time, these sugar highs and lows do not just affect mood in the moment, they create long-term damage in brain pathways, slowly eroding clarity and memory. For seniors who treasure their independence and the ability to stay mentally sharp, this cost is devastating. Each spoonful feels comforting in the short term, but it quietly chips away at the very faculties that keep the mind alive and present. The cardiovascular system pays a heavy price too. Saturated fats from creamy desserts increase LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, which sticks to artery walls and forms plaque. This narrows the blood vessels and makes it harder for blood to flow. At the same time, the high sugar content increases triglycerides, another form of fat in the blood that raises the risk of heart disease. Together, sugar and fat create a double assault on the heart. For seniors who already face natural stiffening of arteries and reduced elasticity in blood vessels, this burden is not minor, it is dangerous. A bowl of ice cream may not seem like much, but repeated servings build up into a serious threat, raising the chances of heart attack, stroke, or chronic cardiovascular disease. What makes frozen creamy desserts particularly deceptive is how normalized they have become. They are marketed as everyday treats, available in large containers, often advertised with labels like low fat, reduced sugar, or made with real milk. But these labels hide the truth. A low fat ice cream may still be packed with sugar, while a reduced sugar version is often loaded with artificial sweeteners and thickeners that bring their own set of problems. Seniors may believe they are making a better choice by picking these healthier versions, but in reality, they are still feeding the same cycle of inflammation, sugar spikes, and fat overload that damages the body. The freezer becomes a trap disguised as comfort, and the consequences are far greater than the temporary sweetness that draws people in. Even the digestive system is not spared. The heavy creams and sugars in these desserts are difficult to process, often leading to bloating, discomfort, or sluggish digestion. For seniors whose digestive efficiency naturally declines with age, this extra strain can make eating these foods feel like a burden rather than a joy. Lactose intolerance, which often becomes more pronounced later in life, adds yet another layer of stress to the body when consuming ice creams or frozen dairy treats. The body responds with gas, cramps, or fatigue, all while still battling the larger issues of sugar and fat overload. The reality is that frozen creamy desserts, as tempting and comforting as they appear, are far from harmless. They are crafted to appeal to the senses while quietly undermining the body's health, draining energy, and accelerating decline. For seniors who deserve strength, clarity, and vitality, these foods do the opposite. They are sweet in the moment, but bitter in their cost, leaving behind a trail of inflammation, imbalance, and weakness that accumulates with every spoonful. Every trip to the grocery store is more than a simple errand. It is a moment of decision that shapes the very future of your health. When you walk down that frozen aisle, you are not just choosing dinner. You are choosing between two paths, two destinies that sit side by side behind frosty glass. On one side are the foods that promise convenience but carry hidden traps. Sodium, sugar, preservatives, fats that harden the arteries, and chemicals that slowly wear the body down. And the other side are quiet, unassuming allies. Berries rich with antioxidants, leafy greens bursting with vitamins, fish that protect the heart and sharpen the mind, and plant proteins that defend muscle and energy. The freezer is not a neutral space, it is a battlefield. And every choice you make places you either in the camp of strength or in the camp of decline. Think about it. What sits in your freezer right now? Is it filled with boxes of frozen pizzas, tubs of ice cream, and bags of breaded fried foods that taste good for a moment but rob you of vitality? Or is it stocked with frozen blueberries, salmon fillets, and spinach that silently guard your heart, mind, and body every time you eat them? The power has never been in the hands of the companies who design these products. It has always been in your hands. You choose what enters your cart, you choose what enters your home, and most importantly, you choose what enters your body. For seniors, especially, every decision carries more weight because the body no longer forgives mistakes the way it once did. Arteries are less flexible, memory more vulnerable, bones more fragile. At this stage, food is no longer just fuel, it is medicine or it is poison. It can either build your strength back up or drain what little strength you have left. That is why it matters so deeply what fills your freezer. The decisions you make today may decide whether you climb stairs easily or struggle, whether your memory stays sharp or begins to fade, whether your heart remains strong or succumbs to pressure. But this is not a message of fear, it's a message of power. Because no matter your age, no matter your past habits, you have the ability to change the battlefield in your favor starting today. You can choose foods that heal rather than harm. You can turn the freezer from a place of danger into a place of life. You can reclaim your strength, your clarity, your vitality, not through drastic measures, but through small, consistent choices made every time you shop. So ask yourself, what future are you building with your frozen foods? Are you letting your freezer become a silent thief, stealing your years one bite at a time? or are you turning it into a vault of health, preserving your energy, protecting your heart, and fueling your mind? When you open that door and see frost on the glass, will you remember that what waits behind it is not just food, but destiny? The choice is yours, and every choice is a chance to write the story of your health, your strength, and your life.